This is my office space. This is organized chaos here, I can assure you. Work in progress. All right, guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to give yourself a Humira dose with the auto-injector pen. I made a video already as far as comparing the pen of things to the pre-filled syringe. So I will also leave a card up for that somewhere. I get my right and my left confused sometimes. So I ended up doing a lot of teachings with a lot of kiddos, their parents, showing them how to give them these very same injections. And since I have RA, I got to the point where we needed to give this a try. The stuff that you are going to need to do it is your pen, obviously, your alcohol pads. I always do 2 just in case. And a sharps container. If you don't have that, then like a coffee can would work really well, preferably like the metal coffee cans. If you don't have that, then I will go for a milk carton. A lot of the specialty pharmacies will give you a sharps container like this though for free, as well as alcohol pads. And if you need more, all you have to do is call your specialty pharmacy and they should send you out a sharps container and or alcohol pads if you need it at no extra cost. If you do have to pay something, which I have not seen very often, they will tell you up front, so you don't expect a bill. Usually it's how they do it. So, a little thing with Humira. It is a medication that you have to keep refrigerated when you're not using it. So when you get it, you refrigerate it, but when you're about to give it to yourself as a dose, we've been taught to advise parents and patients to let it thaw out to room temperature, so that way it doesn't feel like cold going in, so it's a little more comfortable. To be honest, I haven't felt the needle with these. Every kiddo that I have taught how to use these, they don't feel the needle. They're just like, that's it? And that is why I chose this for myself, okay? So this isn't a sample, this is an actual Humira. I take Humira at home. So the first thing is where you can give it. Humira goes in the fatty tissue, just like how insulin also has to go into the fatty tissue. So the typical spot you want to go for is either like your belly, like here. You want to go for your thighs if you're got some fatty areas. A lot of people and little kiddos, the outer thigh is usually better, but I personally, like I can feel I have a lot of muscle out here and you don't want it to go in the muscle. 1, because it's not supposed to, and 2, it's going to feel very sore if it gets in the muscle. That's why if you ever get like vaccines, flu shots, things like that, that's why they feel sore, because those have to go in the muscle. So I go by inner thigh, or if you do the pre-filled syringe or somebody else is giving you the pen shot and not yourself, then the back of the arm is really flabby usually. If you try and do the top part up here in your arm, this is usually where there's a lot of muscle. So again, if you end up giving it to yourself in the muscle, it's going to feel sore, and this works best in the fatty tissue. That's just how the medication works. So if you are giving yourself the pen injection, I don't recommend doing the back of your arm, because you have to make sure that the medication goes in, and it's hard to see if it actually all went in with the back of the arm. So unless someone else is giving it to you, I would just stick with either the thigh or the stomach. Let's just go over what the pen looks like. If you look real closely here, I know this is mirrored backwards, but here's the number 1. So that's the first cap that comes off. Here's the number 2. That's going to be the second cap that comes off. If you look really closely, you'll see a little window right here, and you'll be able to see like that clear liquid right there. That clear liquid is the Humira medication. So I always check this to make sure that you don't see any speckles, no spots, because if you see speckles in it, if you see spots, if it's a funky color, don't give it. You need to call your specialty pharmacy, let them know that you know, that's no good and that they need to send you another one ASAP. Okay, there shouldn't be any gunky looking things in it. And then the next thing that I like to check is the expiration date, which you can see right here, which is very much backwards. I apologize, but usually right here by the top cap where the number 2 is. So make sure it's not expired. If it is expired, you need to call the pharmacy and have them send you a replacement ASAP. If you end up running into issues like with delivery, so like say something weird happens and like they're supposed to send it ASAP, but they're going to be delayed for whatever reason or another. At that point, I would call the rheumatologist and ask them how to time giving yourself the dose at this point and when the next dose after that would be. Worst case scenario, if there's an issue with that or there's an insurance issue going on, then call your office, see if they do samples. But usually those samples that they do of these Humiras are safe for people who have like an insurance issue, like they all of a sudden lost their job and they need this medication, but they don't have an insurance kind of thing, you know. So the first thing I'm going to do, since this is already room temperature, I'm going to take an alcohol pad. I'm going to use my thigh. And since last time I did this thigh, I'm going to use this thigh. And you're going to want to scrub a big area of your thigh in a circular motion going outward. You want to scrub for 20 seconds. If you do not do that, then there's a good chance you're not going to get all of that oil and, you know, like invisible bacteria just from like touching random things, you know, off. And you don't want that going into your skin. So always make sure you do a good 20-second scrub. My hands are already clean, so the first thing actually you would do before you start all this is wash your hands. You see the cap with the number 1? The first one you pull off is for the needle, so don't look inside if you have needle phobia like I do. And then you don't need that cap anymore. You see this little white part right here? You have to make sure that that is pressing against your skin to the point that you cannot see this white part anymore. If you don't do that, you will not get the medication. It's going to spill all over your leg, and then you don't know how much you got for one, and for two, you're going to need another one of these. So always remember where you see this little white part right here below the cap that's kind of like sticking out. When you press it, you need to make sure it presses into your skin. So I just wanted to point that out because you won't be able to see it as well once I try and give it. Then the number 2 cap just pulls off. This is just the button that you press to actually like give yourself the injection. This should be dry by about now. I always like to wait for the alcohol cleaned area to dry because sometimes if you don't, it can sting a little bit. So you're going to take the pen. Again, you're going to press it. If you don't have a lot of fatty tissue, then pinching the skin will help too. And then you press it against your skin. Like I said, you got to make sure that that little white part, that you can't see it anymore. Otherwise, you're not going to get it because that also serves as the safety lock. And when you press this button, you are going to hear a loud clack sound. Some of these pens sound louder than the others when you get them, so they're not all going to have the same sound. So if you are one of those people that is really like nervous and any little noise is going to make you reflexively jerk off before you finish like that, you might want to have someone hold this with you, because I'm telling you, the first time is the most nerve-wracking. Once you go through it a couple times, it's not as bad. I like to breathe in, and then as I'm breathing out, press the button. That's how I do it. Okay, so keep it pressed in, and when you press it, you don't have to hold the button. You just press it one time, but you have to keep the pen pressed against your skin for 6 seconds. because if you don't do that, when you lift up the pen, some of the medication can come out of the little hole that, you know, the little poke hole that you created. I personally like to get a SpongeBob video out, bring up one of my favorite SpongeBob scenes and just watch that. So I'm not sitting here like counting Mississippis, because that doesn't help me. So I'm going to load that up real quick. So I'm going to play SpongeBob in the background, but when you hear that clack sound, that's going to be the pen being pressed. You have to hold it for 6 seconds before you lift it up. And then you'll know that it's done right when the medication in that window that I showed you is all gone. So it'll be empty. I'll show you what that looks like. And with that, I can lift up, and that's it. Now, it is normal to bleed a little bit from this. So if that is something that you are concerned about, you can wipe it with a gauze if you have any, or just cover it with a bandage. But that's it. So let me show you what it looks like when you're finished. So when it's all finished, this button won't press anymore. You see the white part is even taller now because the safety lock activated. So you can't like press it against your skin anymore. And if you look into the window, you see how it's yellow now instead of the clear liquid. That's what shows that the medication is done and it went through. So with that, do not stick your finger in here, because again, the needle is still there. And I am going to just put this into my sharps container, like so. I just put my caps in there too. You don't have to, but I just force a habit. And there you go. So that is it. That is how you give yourself a Humira auto pen injector shot. As usual, I didn't feel it. A lot of people don't. The scariest thing is just pressing that button for the first time. With that said, I hope that this video was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.